Business schools want a new set of bragging rights. Birchbox, Rent the Runway, Warby Parker, all successful ideas that started when the founders met during their MBA programs. Wall Street Journal reporter Lindsay Gellman with me now. She wrote the story. So, Lindsay, it seems like more people want to create their own companies, right? 20 years ago, it was cool to be a band. Now it's cool to have a startup versus work for companies. How is this changing the MBA landscape?
That's right. So there are more people who want to go to business school and then from there create their own businesses, start new ventures. And so what's happening is business schools are actually picking up on this, and they're pitching their programs to potential candidates saying, hey, come here and you'll make a lot of money as a startup founder. Okay, now I know you reached out to a lot of the Ivy League schools and their centers for entrepreneurship. What did the one from Harvard, that particularly grabbed me because she was really talking about what happens after? Yes, so all of these schools are starting to figure out how to track metrics for their entrepreneur alumni. They haven't totally figured it out yet. So the woman I spoke to from Harvard, who's the head of the entrepreneurship center there, said that they're just starting to kind of keep tabs in a formal way on their entrepreneur alumni. They don't have complete information yet, and it's really hard to do, which is part of what the story is about. You can compile information from Crunchbase and other sort of public sources, but these mergers and acquisitions for small firms are happening all the time, and so it's really hard to stay up to date on the information.
And it's also relatively new to the extent of it's hard to judge how successful a startup is going to be.
Absolutely. It's really too soon to tell for a lot of these companies, and you don't really know even which ones to sort of keep track of.
But I also noted from your reporting that the schools are also a little bit more flexible with the kind of candidates that they want, sometimes a little bit more unconventional, or sometimes people who apply late. It just seems to be that this is really changing what the schools want as well.
Absolutely. So schools are looking for these maverick, out-of-the-box candidates, people who are sort of out of left field. And what's happening is the admissions officers for these business schools are noticing that these really cool kind of offbeat candidates are applying later on in the admissions cycle. So earlier, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, the later end of the admission cycle was sort of filled with people who maybe got rejected from their top choice or weren't really organized in preparing their admissions materials. But now, in the later rounds, admissions officers are finding that these candidates are coming through in a way that is really exciting.
Well, in your reporting as well, I mean, you just show there's also reasons. They're also already working. They may be in the military. I mean, there's a whole, you're just kind of expanding the type of person, it seems like, that the schools want.
There's this sense that these people have been busy, either starting a company or fighting for our country, and that's why they haven't been able to apply early in the fall.
I want to give you back, if you don't mind, to Stanford, because you reached out as well, and New Yorker did a great piece a few years ago calling it Rich U, and there was this whole kind of, is it a school? Is it really just a placement center for Silicon Valley? And this whole open debate. Out of curiosity, what did you hear from Stanford?
It's really interesting. So Stanford is keeping sort of informal tabs on a lot of their entrepreneur alumni, and they have a lot. They don't yet have a way of formally tracking them, and a lot of these schools are really just in the troubleshooting stages of trying to figure out, how are we going to follow our entrepreneur alumni? It's really hard to be searching on Crunchbase every day or getting phone calls from people saying my company just raised another round of funding. So from Stanford, I heard that they're in the process of figuring this out still.
So, Lindsay, out of curiosity, were any of the deans, were they open with you about what they think attracting the right kind of candidate means to their brand? Because at the end of the day, let's face it, they want to bring in people that they think are going to be successful, go out in the world, make their mark, and be great ambassadors for their program.
Right. I think the key at a lot of these schools, and what I've heard from a lot of deans and admissions officers, is diversity. So they want candidates that run the gamut. They want the finance and consulting people that kind of fill out the large majority of the class.
Butter, yeah.
Exactly. And then they also want these off-the-wall candidates and people who are going to go start their own businesses or do things in the nonprofit sector or do really unexpected and cool things or team up with each other in ways that they might not have planned. So I think they're looking for just a broad variety.
All right. Well, it's a time of great change. So very cool. Great reporting. Thanks
so
for
much.
coming on to tell us about it. Lindsay Gellman joining us there from the Wall Street Journal.